Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome back for round 10 of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship here from Suzuka this week. David Christie back on commentary, as always, with you, and delighted to be reunited with my good buddy Tapelo Marioli. We let him away for 1 week, but we've managed to corral him back into the commentary box. Tapelo, did you enjoy your week off?
I don't know if I enjoyed it because I was threatened to come back. So let's just keep it positive for this week.
Excellent stuff.
It's good to be back.
It's brilliant to have you back, honestly. It was so quiet in here last week. It was a fairly quiet race, just the around about 12 cars that we had out there on grids, and they all spaced out, but they're not going to have much of an opportunity to do that here this week at Suzuka. We'll talk more about that just in a couple of seconds. Let's take a quick look at the calendar. Then you can see there we are at the business end of the championship right now, round 10 out of 12 rounds. Suzuka, Monza and Watkins Glen. That's all that remains to the end of the year here. So we're off to Suzuka tonight. 3.6 miles here to Bello. A challenging, really twisty, turny circuit here. Lots of surprises in the forms of Hairpin 130R and the Casio Triangle. I get the feeling this might be a little...
It's a spectacle when done right.
Now, the big news is that obviously last time out we didn't have Luke Whitehead, which means that he has now dropped to second place in the championship. George Boothby now jumps into the lead, as you can see here, 234 points. Luke Whitehead now demoted down to second place. Tariq Adam up to third, just 5 points off of that second place just now, but still in contention. Luke Addison on 156 points. Cody Sherritt for Genisus Esports up into P5. 130 points. Abe Santima in 6th position. Christian Deploy, Giovanni Porzio, Henry Meyer and Dan Edvardson in the top 10 just now. So still all to play for, I would say, in that top 3. I think Luke Addison might... Well, I think mathematically, I think he's out of it anyway. But Tariq Adams still, Tapelo in very much with a shout. And if he has a good result here tonight, even more so.
Yeah, I think it's very close there at the top, and we're getting to that point. We've kind of hinted at it throughout the whole season so far, that we will be getting to the end of the season where everything is crucial. Every point, every position, track position becomes important. You cannot emphasize just how perfect you have to be in a situation like this. 3 rounds to go, and dare I say 3 rounds with very different circuits, very different characteristics, but you need a good result at each and every one. So for the top 3, it just made the championship wide open, which is good from a spectator perspective, but from a driver's perspective, insanely difficult, because you can't afford to slip up at this point.
Absolutely, especially here at Suzuka. This is going to be a critical point in the championship, especially now we've got Luke Whitehead, back on the track just now this week with us, so he has enjoyed his little holiday. Obviously we've got the drop weeks to contend with as well, but either way this has been a fantastic championship to watch here. But qualifying currently ongoing on the circuit just now, just under 4 minutes left to go in that one. Luke Whitehead on pole position, as you see Daniel de Matos Pareto up into P6 there, Luke Addison jumping up into P4. But again, while, and this is something we spoke about last week to explain to our viewers, obviously we've only got 14 cars out there on circuit. Now this almost happens in every single community racing championship, is that you'll get drivers sign up and then it naturally ebbs away, where drivers have maybe got something else on, or they're not feeling the championship, or they decide that they withdraw and they want to go and race elsewhere, and you can kind of understand that. So with regards to that though, the top 10 that we've got at the moment are all still here in the server, so it's still so many stories to tell over the remaining 3 races here to Pello.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think we've spoken about it, just how competitive the whole overall the season has been. And yes, we're getting people dropping off, but we're getting some of the guys that are still staying consistent, still being competitive, trying to see it out to the end. And it's so interesting because I was looking at the standings just before we went live as well. Everyone has scored a point. And I haven't done this long, and I wouldn't tell you what kind of realm this is, but to have everyone score and then to see people still trying to push towards the end, that makes it more interesting. We have a lot of stories to talk. Yes, the top three have kind of pulled away from everyone else, but there's still bragging rights. There's still, personal victory in finishing 5th, 6th, 7th. So that makes it a very much more interesting championship, and especially at the end where we are now, it's all about watching it and seeing how it plays out.
Yeah, for sure. As we're on board with Luke Whitehead then, 2 minutes left to go in qualifying. So let's take you on a lap round here at Suzuka then. This is in the first corner, round that double apex right-hander. Then it's through into this tight, twisty section called Snake. This is one of my favourite parts of the track because it just feels so awesome, so smooth when you get the car dialed up properly. Then through the right-hander and the anti-banked curve before you're off into Dunlop. Again, this is a uphill sweeping left-hander. You want to keep your foot down as hard as possible before it's on the run down towards the double right-hander here called the Degners. This is Degner 1, and then on the brakes here, this is Degner 2, that Lambo Huracan GT3, looking very, very planted indeed. On the accelerator then, again on the run up towards hairpin just now. That's tight left hand. The car's squealing for mercy as it tries to find any sort of traction, any sort of grip on the exit of that corner. The car roars at life through 200, are then up through the gears again, keeping tucked into that right hand side before it's through into the left into spoon curve. And again, you don't want to go too wide onto that tarmac on the right hand side, that painted surface, because you have to be so patient before you can throw the throttle right down again. This is the home stretch though. This is on the back stretch then. You're nearly home. You get a chance to look at your speedo, chance to look at all of the stats on the car before you go through one of the most intimidating corners here at 130R. Foot absolutely pinned to the floor here. And onto the brakes then, into the Casio triangle. Then you can take a little bit more curve than you think you're allowed to, and you get away with it. And that is going to be a fantastic lap there for Luke Whitehead through that final corner. Comes across the line, 157.4 was his previous time. What did he do across the line now? 157.312. So that is your pole sitting lap. Absolutely smashes it out the park. 0.7 of a second ahead of George Boothby Tapello. That is a hell of a qualifying lap.
Beautiful lap. And I have it in my notes here that, especially when you're doing a qualifying lap around Suzuka, there's a lot of corners where you're not going to gain a lot of time by getting them right. But if you get them wrong, you lose so much time. And if you look at, you spoke about this, how planted the Lamborghini was. I think we have a new driver here. It's staying with the Bentley, a new contender we haven't seen. That'll be interesting to see how it compares in the races, because we've seen some tracks favoring some cars, but this is a span in the works. We haven't seen the Bentley so far this season, so let's see. I hope it has tremendous, or at least competitive long run pace, so we can see in the race as we get to the end of qualifying. Hopefully it's all settled down now, and we should be setting up for a good race. And as you've spoken about, we have a big gap from first to second. I think it's 7/10. That's just Luke Whitehead showing how fired up he is for this race after missing the previous round. Already marking his territory, shall I say.
I think you're absolutely spot on with that. I think he's got one eye on the championship trophy on tonight, and depending on how it goes and how the points stand, he could very well move towards that. Just an interesting point to talk about Roland Stein there then in that Bentley, a car that we've not really seen be out there. And I've got a very soft spot for the Bentley because that was my first car that I ever drove in Assetto Corsa Competizione. I remember many years ago when Assetto Corsa Competizione first came out, I was watching YouTube videos on what car is like best for beginners and things like that, and at the time the current meta was that the Bentley was a really smooth, good all-round car. Of course, very we joke about it being the Boltley because it is a massive car, and yet it's the smallest GT3 on there, and it's also the lightest of the GT3s on there, which makes no sense whatsoever. However, it does come with its own butler to drive the car, so that is an obvious plus there for the Boltley. However, Luke Whitehead then on pole position for round 10 here of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. George Boothby alongside him on that front row of the grid. Then row 2 is going to be Tariq Adam and Luke Addison. That is third and fourth place. Then it's Cody Sherritt alongside Abe Santima on row 3. Daniel Damatos Preto on row 4 alongside Christian Duploy. 7th and 8th place. And then Christian Venter in 9th position alongside the homing missile, the driver we've not seen for a couple of weeks now, is on P10 alongside Christian Venter. Then you've got on row 6, you've got Leon in number 37, Ferrari, Nicholas Leon, alongside Alexander Kuznetsov. And then at the back, 2 newcomers, or certainly Mittelany, we've not seen for a little while there, Reginald Mittelany, and one definite newcomer in the form of Ronald Stein in the Bentley. So 15 seconds left to go here at Suzuka. It is a condensed grid. We've got 14 cars here, but I still think that we are going to have a hell of a race here. 60 minutes. We've got a mandatory pit stop here to take. What's your thoughts ahead of tonight, Pello?
I think it's going to be interesting. I think, look, it's a circuit that punishes tires, especially sector 1. You know, those S curves can be very punishing, especially if you get it wrong. You're putting so much pressure on the fronts. So that just puts so much pressure on the drivers to get their stints correct, get their timings for the pit stops correct. And then you go into sector 2, you know, going through the 2 Deckners, that's more pressure on the rear tires now, especially as you go into the hairpin out of turn 11. It's a very tricky traction zone. So tire deck will be interesting to see. You know, drivers will have to get it right. And I think what I love about this circuit is you have such a technical sector 1, and then you have such a free-flowing sector 3. So you have to find the balance where you're confident, where you're willing to lose time. It's a very tricky thing to say in the race, but sometimes you need to see where you're willing to lose the time. So I think we're in for a good race. Look, this is the kind of circuit where some drivers are going to shine, some drivers are going to struggle. Some people are just going to look to hold position. So yeah, I think we're in for a good one tonight, David.
3.6 miles here at Suzuka is what is facing the drivers ahead of them tonight for 60 minutes of GT3 action as the championship here for the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship comes to a close. Round 10 of 12. We've only got 3 rounds, including this one, left to go, and this is bubbling up very, very nicely. Luke Whitehead, despite his original loss and missing out on last week, getting back there, showing exactly who's boss, getting up to that pole position. I think that's as much a mental marker, I think, for Luke Whitehead to the rest of the field as anything else. I think as well, George Boothby, you know, 0.7 of a second off of the pace there, descent to morph in through that Lamborghini. I quite like that. That's quite a nice little effect there.
We spoke about some light touching is a little loving. This is a bit more touching than we expected this season, by far, that's for sure. But yeah, I think it's a statement by Luke Whitehead. You know, 7/10s, especially around a track that revolves around confidence, that's a very big statement to make to everyone else. And look, we've seen it already this season. If you can kind of hold position out of turn 1, just get a few, the first 5 laps, just get a solid pace, you can kind of pull away while everyone is trying to find themselves, jostle for position, find their momentum. So maybe that's what Luke Whitehead is looking to do. It'll be interesting to see. You know, George Boothby hasn't been a slouch this season. He's driven extremely well. We've spoken about Tariq Adam so far this season as well, just how he's picked up, how consistent he has been. And we've actually seen him start really well, make up a position, and then hold P2 for quite a long time during the race. So it will be interesting to see how it starts. Will be also interesting to see the new guys in the championship. You know, as we're talking about Mittileni and Stein so far. Again, Stein throwing us a span in the works with the Bentley. I love that car as well. I think it's a very lovely choice for GT3 racing. I got the pleasure of seeing it race live in the 9 hour in 2019. Yeah, that cemented my love for that car. So I share your sentiments, David.
It's an awesome car, and again, still, it's a shame that it isn't raced as much as it used to be, but that's by the by. Maybe it'll make a comeback in one of the many updates that Kunos will make to Assetto Corsa Competizione. But that is all water under the bridge at the moment, as Luke Whitehead comes side by side with George Boothby here at Suzuka for the 10th round of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. Whitehead and Boothby locked together at the top of the championship. But what is going to happen here tonight? That is what we are about to find out. 60 minutes of GT3 racing, mandatory pit stop here where they've got to take fuel and tyres. Tariq Adam wanting to try and get some of those points in as well. He'll be starting from the second row of the grid. As we pause to wait, the lights go green and we are racing here at Suzuka then for round 10. And it's all eyes down to that first corner then. That's a great start for Tariq Adam, fighting with Luke Addison there on that second row of the grid just now. They're still going for it as well. Cody Sherritt is going to be wanting to make moves right now, but dear Lord Almighty, Luke Whitehead already is off like a rocket just now. And talking of a rocket, where is the boy himself, Jimmy Holm? He's down there in 10th position. So decent start from everyone. They've made their way through Snake. They're going through the left-hander and then onto the anti-bank curve and then through Dunlop as well. So a decent start through the race, a clean start for most of the drivers right now, and I think they'll be very happy with that. But Luke Whitehead still in the lead just now, as that looked like Christian Deploy making a move on Daniel Tomatos Pareto there.
Yeah, fairly clean start, better than I expected. Turn 1 at Suzuka tends to be a very tricky corner to get right, especially when you're surrounded by cars. I actually thought we might see some contact as well. Is it a challenge? Is it an overtake? Will he hold? Coming up is Kuznetsov. Track favors him. It's turning into, so he gets the inside line. Good move there, good defense, and let's see how he holds going into spoon curve, which is very tricky to get right when you're alone, but when you're under pressure, insanely more difficult. And you need to get it right because you have a long run down to 130R, and if Mitilene is strictly in the slipstream, he could actually be looking for a good move going into 130R. As you can see here, he's already making up a lot of ground in the slipstream. Let's see, is he brave? I don't think he's close enough. He's hanging back. Still too early in the race to try and go for that riskier move.
Yeah, he jumped on the brakes there, did Nicholas Leon there. So the move is done. Alexander Kuznetsov gets that 11th position, takes it, and he will be very happy with that one. We cut back to the main fields of drivers then as we go across the line for lap 1. It's Whitehead from Boothby, from Tariq Adam, Luke Addison in 4th, Cody Sherritt in 5th, Abe Santima up into P5, Daniel Tomatos Pareto down into P7, Christian Deploy in 8th, Christian Fenter in 9th position, and then it's Jimmy Holm into 10th position. So there we go, that is how they're shaping up just now. It's almost a second gap from Whitehead to Boothby at this early stage of the race, and yeah, I'm getting very concerned for the fact that the pace of Luke Whitehead is so strong that he looks like he's in a very commanding position of this race already, and we are barely even a couple of minutes in. This the issue for a lot of the other drivers is a case of looking out and trying to take positions wherever you can. We cut back to Daniel Tomatos Pareto here onto the back of Abe Santima. This could be a move for position into the hairpin. Has a little look up the inside there, but thinks better of it. It could be on the run down to Spoon Curve.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite overtake spot on this track, heading into the hairpin, because you can take so many different lines getting in and coming out as you take turn 11. It's such a, dare I say, it's a part of the circuit that it lends itself to great overtakes. And if you can get it right, you're assured, because spoon curve is so difficult. You just find your line and have the guy behind you struggling a lot. But as we see here, Daniel Tomatos Pareto is getting a good exit out of spoon curve, heading down the long straight into 130R. Should be holding. He's got a sufficient gap. He should be comfortable taking 130R. Might have to defend a bit into the Casio triangle, but that's all right.
Here comes Nicholas Leon then, tries to make a move up the inside at Casio Triangle, has to jump on the brakes, but the Lamborghini of Kuznetsov is not going to be letting that move happen whatsoever, so you have to get back to the drawing board, have to rethink this one through. So Kuznetsov has got that Ferrari firmly on its tail right now, moves from one side to the other. Kuznetsov tries to block the move off, but it's going to go around the outside there as the Ferrari, almost into a little bit of contact there. There is a little bit of contact there. The Lamborghini goes wide there, and Kuznetsov has only got himself to blame there. It was a little bit overly aggressive on the defence. That left him very, very vulnerable into first curve there, and unfortunately that is going to be Nicholas Leon getting that position back there and doing his own thing. Talking about doing his own thing though, great to see that Roland Stein still circulating just at the back of the grid there, 6 seconds off of the pace of everyone, getting his bearings to the championship. And it's nice when you're kind of left to do your own thing, isn't it, Zapello?
Yeah, look, sometimes it is, and I think there's a lot of pressure that people don't realize oftentimes coming into a championship when it's so developed. You know, you don't know who's who, and by extension you don't know who's strong where, who's weak where. So it's also good just to come in, do your own thing, you know, languish at the back, just find your rhythm, find your pace, and you should be all right. I think we can over contextualize it and say, oh, he's slower than everyone else, but you're literally being a fish dropped in a new pond here. So you just need to do your own thing, ignore what everyone else is doing, just focus on you and find your, dare I say, find your position on track.
I'm going to make a hazarded guess here, and I'm going to say that Roland Stein is not on a wheel. I'm going to say that he's on a control pad, because if you look at the way that wheel is sawing from left to right, I don't even know if he's on the gamepad. I think he might be using the keyboard here. So we'll have a look here anyway. But Roland Stein, either way, regardless, doing a grand job of just doing his own thing, just circulating, and that's the whole point of these Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship, is the fact that no matter what skill level you are at, no matter the level of your sim racing ability, this is a championship where you can come in and you can learn. It comes from the Japanese principle of Kaizen, where you iterate over and over and over again, and you know, you develop, you analyse what you've done, and you get better at what you've done week and week and week after week. So yeah, very warm welcome. And it's that whole thing of, it reminds me of another Japanese principle here, Tapello, of Kitsugi, of that whole thing of embracing imperfection and making it better, making it unique. That's exactly what we all do here. You know, drivers through the championship, they'll maybe have a track that they don't particularly like, but they get better at it through the season, or they are better at other things. So it's that whole thing of, you know, identifying where your strengths and using that to overpower your weaknesses.
Yeah, look, it's a brilliant thing, and I hope that is the last of the Japanese philosophies that we're going to follow for this season, because I do not want to see ritual seppuku on this circuit. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go find what that is about.
Give it half an hour.
If you really want to have a laugh while I'm adding that, just go search for seppuku on the internet, and you'll see what that's about. But yeah, look, it's it's so great. I love this. I love this so much. You know, developing your own skill. And this is funny to say because you're in a championship, but developing your own skill in your own way, according to your own strengths, in your own pace. That is something that no value can be put on that, because you're figuring it out as you go along. And like we've mentioned so many times throughout this season, everyone seems to be helpful in giving advice and giving pointers on where they can improve. And we've seen it with a lot of drivers in this championship already, how, dare I say, their consistency has improved from race 1 up until now we're in round 10. So we've seen consistency improve. We've seen their racecraft as well. That's why we're seeing less and less incidents. So I love that about this championship. You know, we praise Kaizen, and a lot of people use Kaizen even when they don't know the principle. They use it every day. So to see it actually in application is a brilliant thing to see.
Yeah, could not agree more on that one. As we cut back to the Genisus Esports train, that is Tariq Adam, Luke Addison and Cody Sherritt all circulating away there. Luke Addison going a little bit wide through the seconds of the Degners. The car getting a little bit squirrely, and now coming under pressure from Cody Sherritt. And one of the things that we saw over the past couple of weeks, in the past couple of rounds here, is that idea of, oh, is there any sort of team orders at Genisus Esports? And we find very quickly that no, absolutely not. There is a case of they all just race for themselves, and that's exactly what we're seeing through here. But 50 minutes left to go in the race here. We can see Daniel de Matos Pareto in that Lamborghini, caught right up to the back there of Abe Santima. He is trying to make a move, but he's going to have to do it quickly because he's also got Christian Deploy just behind there in that number 5 Ferrari. He is going to be under some real pressure very shortly. They're along the back stretch now. What is going to happen as they go into 130R? Has a little look there. Is it going to be a move there? No, thinks better of it, and that's going to leave him very vulnerable indeed in that battle for P7. Christian Deploy is thinking about a move into Casio Triangle, not quite close enough here. But again, Daniel de Matos Pareto here is now vulnerable coming out of that final corner here, and a little bit of a kick there, trying to hold on to that position there, completely unintentional from Christian Deploy. But it's a side-by-side battle, and that is going to be Deploy's every single day of the week.
Especially going into turn 1, which will favor the car on the inside, because if you're on the outside you can take a faster entry speed, but you're so afraid of the contact pushing you out. So that was, dare I say, the opportune time for Christian Deploy to go for that overtake. And we've seen this as well again this season, where the third driver in a three-way battle just has the best seats in the house, because they can look out for errors from the guys in front and capitalize where there's a bit of space, as we saw Christian Deploy doing it coming out of Casio Triangle. And once again, for the umpteenth time this season, we focus on the Genisus Esports train. These guys have been so equally matched throughout the season. It's actually quite hilarious how often they find themselves next to each other on circuit. But you're right, there's no team orders, they race. But what I love about it is they race each other very cleanly, minimal contact, just a demonstration of composure and measured driving from these guys.
100% as we are still watching this fight for third position. And this is, I guess this is the point in the race where we saw it last week, where it does kind of go into a quieter stage right now, because you've got these three just now all separated by themselves at the moment, and then a little bit further down you've got Deploy, de Matos Pareto and Christian Fenter that'll all be battling it out as well. But then after that it's pretty much everybody just on their own individual bit of track here, and it might not be the most enthralling for our audience at home, but again, some crucial points on offer here towards the end of the championship.
Yeah, look, and if you don't find the race interesting enough, that's why David and I are here. So that should be fine. But yes, we've gotten to that point of the season where every point is crucial, as we've mentioned, as we built up to this race. The top three are so close to each other, every point matters. And if you look at now, Luke Whitehead, he's already got a 2.8, almost 2.9 second gap to George Boothby in second place. And we spoke about that, we kind of touched on it, just how good he's been at starting these races, just his pace over the first 5 laps, just to give himself some breathing room and open that gap. So he has come into this race, he lost first position in the championship, but he is looking full on odds for the win today. Look, there's 47 minutes left to go of this race, but such is his pace, such is his composure, that we're starting to make very early predictions on where he might finish today.
And the thing with that is that we've seen Luke Whitehead just be an absolute monster when it comes to consistency and performance, and the fact that we're 10-15 minutes into a race here, he's already 3 seconds ahead of George Boothby, 6 seconds ahead of Tariq Adam. But Tariq Adam, having to fight off Luke Harrison and Cody Sherritt, that is a monster of a brake failure there from Christian Deploy. Tried to get a move done there going at Spoon Corner there. Clips onto the back of Abe Santima, and I'm hoping there's no damage on the back end of Abe's car there, but that car just locking up under braking and going straight into the car in front.
Yeah, look, that's always the problem with Spoon, especially when you're following someone. It's such a tricky corner to get dead right when you're on your own, but when you're following someone, you miss your braking point, you miss your turning point. That tends to happen there. So yeah, hopefully no damage. I just love to see these guys stick by each other, next to each other. As we see Luke Addison going for the move down the outside, I don't think he'll have enough room. Tariq Adam is holding brilliantly defending there. I think the best option for Luke Addison here is just to tuck in, try and find his line. The track will open up as he heads out of Dunlop into the two Degner curves. That's a very good place to just get your momentum right. Degners are a very crucial part of the circuit. It's where you can get a lot of momentum, and hopefully where you can start to set up an overtake going into the hairpin. As we see here, they go up to the Dunlop curve, heading into Degner 1. Both drivers looking fairly solid. Luke Addison went a bit... No, sorry. Tariq Adam went a bit wide there. Let's see, heading into the hairpin. Will there be a move? No. No. Tariq Adam defended brilliantly, put his car right in the middle of the circuit, not giving Luke Addison any space whatsoever. But Luke is still close here. He's still close, and there's a very good opportunity if he can get his line correct going into Spoon, avoid what happened with Christian Deploy. Done well so far. And as you see, they head down into the back straight, going down into 130R. He's really close, so he will be reaping maximum benefit off the slipstream. And if it works for him, he might actually get the move even before they head into 130R. Let's see. Already looking to the inside, thinks better of it, takes 130R, heading down into Casio Triangle. And once again, we are following, yes.
Sorry, I was just about to say to Pillow, it's almost identical watching Tariq Adam, Luke Addison and Kodashera, and then you've got this fight here with Abe Santima, Daniel D'Amatos Preto and Christian Deploy all fighting it out. It's strange how it's almost absolutely identical.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so interesting is they're all kind of looking at the same places to get their overtakes. You know, and I think that's what this kind of circuit does, is you have parts where you're not going to get the overtake, so why even bother? But then you have sections where it opens up for you. So they're kind of running with the same kind of ideology or mentality on where to get these overtakes. So that's very interesting to see. And I think what I like as well, we've pointed out throughout the season the strengths of the different cars, you know, where the McLaren is strong, where the Ferrari is strong, where the Lamborghini is strong. And I think so deep into the season as well, the drivers have kind of seen where they can maximize the potential of their cars, so it's also bringing them closer. That's why we have battles like this where you can find three drivers being so consistently within half a second of each other for multiple laps in a race.
Certainly is. You've got picture in picture then. You can see that fight for third position on the left. You can see the fight for sixth position on the right then. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh and eighth position. So these are the two main battles at the moment. Luke Whitehead still in the lead of the race by 3.5 seconds here. But this is getting very, very tight indeed. You can see on the left-hand side though, Luke Addison, as we've noticed for many, many laps now, firmly onto the back ends of Tariq Adam. But again, it's having to wait and be patient and get that car in a position where it can actually do something at an appropriate time. That is the main issue. I think start-finish rate might be where it's at, but again, a little bit too far back as we've got the cars going through 130R on the right-hand side there. That is going to be very, very wide there from Daniel D'Amatos Preto there. They come into Casio Triangle, but back on the left-hand side here, what can Luke Addison do then? He's into the slipstream with that Ferrari off Tariq Adam. Again, still too far back into turn one. He is just going to have to wait and be patient on this. And on that, there we go then. Daniel D'Amatos Preto had a little look to the inside there. I think he's just caught himself out with that late braking there, but manages to tuck it back inside. So as we said, 40 minutes left to go here to Pello, and again, this is pretty much where the main battles are.
Yeah, that's for sure. And they're giving us entertainment. You know, we're trying to see how are they going to do it. And I think what Luke Addison is doing really well is applying so much pressure on Tariq Adam. Look, I'm not going to jinx it, touch wood, commentators curse and all, but it's all about forcing Tariq Adam to make a mistake. You know, he's being consistent, so you're not going to outpace him or outmaneuver him, so you just got to force him into a mistake. As we focus once again on Luke Whitehead, you tend to forget about him when he's driving like this, you know, so dominant, so composed. His race pace is extremely impressive. I cannot convey to the viewers just how difficult it is to maintain a pace like this, especially around a circuit like this if you haven't done it yourself. whatever simulator you have, whatever setup you have, just go and try and do a consistent 10 lap stint around Suzuka. It's one of the trickiest things to get right. Like I said, in a 10 lap stint, you're going to do corners 8 different times, as we see once again Daniel Dematos Praetos and Abe Santima, challenges galore. I'm loving what these three guys are giving us here. Heading into 130R, who will be brave? No one, they tucking in because they don't want the mistake of making contact and going wide and losing it right here. Going into Casio Triangle once again. And as we switch again to our position 3 battle between Tariq Adam, Luke Addison and Cody Sharrett. Again, the drivers becoming very, very close. So you're starting to see where they find their advantages, where they can put on pressure. As we see Luke Addison going on the outside. Oh, Tariq Adam holding position one more time, showing impressive defense on the inside line. And I think Luke Addison will just have to tuck in once again, going through the S's. But he will see coming out of Dunlop, heading into the 2 Degners, that creates another overtake opportunity for him.
And I really thought that Luke Addison had that done on the outside of that first corner, but of course Tariq Adam just had the nose in front, just kept that car positioned perfectly and holds on to that 3rd position just now. Meanwhile, your race leader Luke Whitehead has stabilised the gap. George Boothby just now, I think those two are quite happy managing the pace between themselves, good friends offline and in real life as well, so they'll be just doing their own thing, I think, at the front. Meanwhile, we've got this 3-way battle for Genisus Esports for the final step of the podium. Tariq Adam, Luke Addison and Cody Sherritt as well. Just behind them then, as we saw earlier on, Daniel Dematos Pareto ahead of Christian Deploy, and Abe Santima has now been punted down to 8th position, so we didn't manage to catch that, but Dematos Pareto ahead now in P6, and Abe Santima will be absolutely fizzing at that one. And further behind, Jimmy Holm now just 9/10 of a second, so he's onto that little fight as well. The homing missile in the number 2 Ferrari is on to the back there of Christian Fenter, with Nicholas Leon in 11th place, Alexander Kuznetsov in 12th, and then you've got Mittelini in 13th, and a very warm welcome to Stein in 14th position. Now this is going to be a thing actually, because Stein is lapping Stein is lapping around about 2:06, as is Mittelini, and leader lapping around about 8 seconds a lap faster, which means that those two are going to get a lap put on them, I think, in the next 20 seconds or so, is what has happened. That's just a timing screen updating itself, confirming what happened with Abe Santima there, so panic over on that one. But again, lap traffic going to be an issue, I think, in the next sort of 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, look, we've spoken about the new guys trying to find their position on track. Look, it sounds like a really weird thing to say, but this gives them more opportunity just to learn the racecraft, to learn where to give space. You know, if you're blue flagged, let the faster guys go by. There's actually a skill in how you do it, because as a driver, when you're letting a faster guy past, you don't want to do it in such a way that it compromises your race, your pace. So you kind of learn. There's a skill in doing it, and there's also a bit of racecraft. As we see some contact between Tariq Adam and Luke Addison. We didn't catch the start there, but we saw... it was Luke Addison who was already on the grass on the inside, and Tariq Adam didn't look comfortable as well. There is definitely contact. Hopefully we can get some details on that. I know the stewards will be watching at this battle and contact intently. We might see some gifts heading into Christmas this year from the stewards, but let's hope they hold on just for a bit as we have another run going down into 130R between these three drivers.
Well, I think it might be Cody Sherritt that's getting a little bit of a present this year, because Luke Addison and Tariq Adam firmly going on the naughty list at this way. If they keep the pace up, and if they keep the nudging up as well, it's firm but fair racing, I think, between the two of them, as we are already nearly 6 minutes away from the halfway point in this 10th round of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. Luke Addison, though, gets that run out the final corner. Does he have a chance to make a move here into the first corner, sent it up the inside? No, it's going to be blocked by Tariq Adam. He's sending Tariq Adam wide though, so we can try and throw that car up the inside. Cody Sherritt just flings it in with absolute hope, trying to catch on to the back ends of these cars here. But at the moment, let's take a replay of what happened then. And for me, that is very, very opportunistic there from Luke Addison. I think that he just missed his breaking point there, and great racing from both of them. They tried their best to kind of second guess and watch out for each other there, and I think it was just a little bit of tripping up over each other between Luke Addison and Tariq Adam there.
Yeah, that's a very common thing actually that happens at the hairpin, because like I said, there's multiple lines you can take heading into the hairpin and going around it. Some guys prefer the higher line, some guys prefer the tighter inside line. So it tends to happen that you get drivers going in at the same time and there's a bit of contact. Look, it's all fair, no one got hurt. Again, this is a virtual world, so yes, no one will get hurt, but it looked fair. I hope the stewards aren't going to make a meal out of it. Both drivers kind of respected each other.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what actually happens with this. Meanwhile, Christian Deploy then still onto the back here of Daniel de Matos Preto as they are making their way round for lap number 12 through Spoon Curve. And they will be on the run down the back stretch there as Christian Deploy again on the run down, trying to catch the tail end of that Lamborghini. But I get the feeling that the Lamborghini, I think here, just a little bit too strong. But as we come up to the halfway point then, Luke Whitehead in the lead of the race, George Boothby in second place, Tariq Adam in third, Luke Addison in fourth position with Cody Sherritt in fifth, Daniel de Matos Pareto in sixth position, Christian Deploy in seventh, Abe Santima dropping down the order there, he's down 2 places in eighth position, Christian Fenter in ninth, and Jimmy Holm in 10th position. Tapello.
Yeah, look, we're starting to see the guys that have been challenging each other kind of holding position now. I think they've kind of, I don't want to say they scared themselves, but there's been a bit of contact, there's been a bit of close racing, so it's kind of, you need to let it settle down for a bit. Find your pace, find your rhythm, then go back. Look, Suzuka is a very tricky circuit, ladies and gentlemen. Sector 1 is all about rhythm, it's all about momentum through those S's, so you need to find that. If you're fighting heading into those S's, and you won't find it. So it's all good. That's love, that's racing. As we see these cars, lovely going into the Degness. I actually think that's my favorite part of the circuit. You can make up a lot of time actually there, especially if you run over the curbs. Pull that car in, get your nose planted. Very, very good section of the circuit as we see the battle for third position still going on between Tariq Adam, Luke Addison and Cody Sherritt. Guys, these guys have been so close for the past, I don't know, what, 5-6 laps. We've seen contact between them. We've seen a warning from the stewards as well. Again, thank you, stewards. We don't want to ruin this beautiful race. But so far, so good.
Just on that note as well, was with the warning from the stewards there to Pello, again, it won't be taken into account that they're teammates. It'll just be a case of that'll be literally just a warning for their continued behaviour with each other. Right, Roland Stein, there was a reason we cut to that shot, and that reason was you can see the Lamborghini on that one. I'm almost convinced that Roland Stein is on a keyboard at this point in time. With Luke Addison trying to send it round the outside. Is it going to be fourth time lucky? Tries to keep the foot in, but Tariq Adam says no, and no again. But I mean, fair play to Luke. He's definitely trying here to Pello.
Yeah, look, and I think that's what gets lost, right? He's trying so well, and he's not compromising his race by trying, as we've spoken about, Roland Stein there, doing what we've spoken about, finding the perfect position to let a faster driver pass. But just going back to Tariq Adam and Luke Addison, Luke is trying really well, and it's so difficult, but I think what Tariq does so well is he gets the positioning of his car spot on going into turn 1. He puts it towards the center of the track where he doesn't compromise his line by running too wide, or he doesn't compromise his line by running in too shallow. And as we got the shot of Roland Stein letting Luke Whitehead and George Boothby past, I really wish we could add the sound graphic from Jaws, because we saw that Lamborghini coming up right from behind. Looked like a scene straight out of a horror movie. But it's alright, because there's a lot of action to keep us entertained. We don't need sound effects this evening, ladies and gentlemen. David, back to you.
Oh, if you thought that was bad, then that is going to get even worse, because they're side by side fighting here, and they're coming up on Ronald Stein very, very quickly indeed. It's going to be through 130R, maybe on the exit to Casio Triangle. A little bit of pump drafting here. They're going to go side by side. Luke Hansen moves to the inside, has to wait late on the brakes there, and that is still going to make it very, very wobbly for Tariq Adam. The two of them go in through Casio Triangle. Luke Addison, that is a ballsy move there. Unbelievable stuff from the number 7 Ferrari, and for absolutely nothing, as they're all into pit lane at the halfway point with just 1 minute left to go in this pit stop window. I completely forgot about the pit stop window there. In fact, was the pit stop window open? Because that's a lot of cars all coming in immediately.
This is the first, ladies and gentlemen. 10 rounds into a season. 10
Things
rounds into a
obviously
season
not been
and
told.
already. Oh no, that's gonna be so bad. Okay, so we've had someone run out of fuel at the end of the race. We've had a pit window open where everyone has to dive in. I think we're gonna have. Is Reginald close enough? I think Reginald is close enough. He should make it. Stein is gonna miss the pit window. What a season we're having! What a season we're having!
Does Mitlooney know he has to go into the pits? Oh, he does. He's jumping into the pit lane right there. Is he? Yeah, I think he is. Anyway, George Boothby comes out of pit lane. He's done his pit stop. There's Luke Addison ahead of... Oh, he's got a penalty! Luke's been spinning pit lane. He's been done. All that effort, all that work for absolutely nothing. Stop go 30-second penalty. And, well, that's done.
I don't know whether to cry or laugh, because we're seeing so many new things this season, and that is so unfortunate for Luke Addison getting that stop and go penalty, because it was definitely heating up there. Yes, sir.
Tapello, I was panicking there. I was waiting to say, what the hell happened to George Boothby? Because he was down in 9th position after that pit stop, and then suddenly the timing screen jumped him back up to P2. So I'm sorry, I had a heart attack. I'm having an old man moment there.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The tech just wanted to make sure we're all awake. Are we focused? Are we concentrating on what's happening? It happens. It happens. It happens.
So Roland Stein comes across to complete his pit stop. Of course, he will end up being disqualified, I believe, because he's not taking, or he'll get a drive-through or something, because he's not taking that pit stop within the pit stop window. We'll wait and see on that. But Cody Sherritt on to inheriting that third place then from Luke Addison. He can happily let Luke just streak off into the sunset. In fact, he already has taken that third position from Luke Addison just now. So again, just watching how these cars are all going to get their way through here, because I'm trying to figure out. So he's got past. So what has happened in Luke Addison? Has Luke Addison then had a further moment, because he's already down to P5 and he was up to P3? So I'm very, very confused here.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something we missed trying to cover all the action so far on this circuit. As he goes in to serve his stop-go penalty, this must be heartbreaking. This will be the longest 30 seconds of his life.
Going to be brutal, and unfortunately from my experience, I've got a horrible feeling he'll get another stop-go 30, because when you think about it, they go into the pit lane, he was driving absolutely furiously. He was so annoyed with what had happened, and again, it's so easy to mispress the button on the pit limiter and get another one. Either way, Luke Harrison in for his stop-go 30. That now means that Tariq Adam has been demoted down to 4th position. He will want to try and get that back from Cody Sherritt, as we've seen Roland Stein. Now, Roland Stein has been in the pit lane, but he's not been marked as having a pit stop. So I'm not sure about that, but then that might be because he's out of his pit window, so he's not done his mandatory stop then. So that will almost certainly be, I think, a disqualification. Let's have a replay though of what happened with Luke Harrison. Into the hairpin, goes wide. Is he just going to loop the car round? No, he moves aside. Okay, so, well, that wasn't a moment then. So that was actually good teamwork there from Luke Harrison there.
Yeah, I think, look, you understand you've got a penalty. These are your teammates after all. As much as you're competing against them, you drive for the same team. I think this is a good show of sportsmanship. Don't ruin their race. Give them a clear path so they can challenge each other, because you've effectively fallen out from the challenge. I love that. It's why we're here. It's what we've spoken about. The etiquette, the driving IQ, the racing IQ from these drivers all season. Top class. Put it in a textbook of what racing should be like.
I have a horrible suspicion that that might be Luke Harrison's day done. He is still in pit lane at the moment, and that has been well more than 30 seconds, and his stop go 30 hasn't cleared yet, so I think that that is his day done and dusted, and you can completely understand if that is the case for Luke Harrison as the lap goes down. 25 minutes left to go. And, well, what a race we've had here for round 10 of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship, as it's David Christie and Tapelo Marioli here in the commentary box with you tonight. What a brilliant season this has been, actually, Tapelo. It gives us a chance to look back over the previous 9 rounds here. We've only got just 2 rounds left to go after this, and I think, you know, the drivers and the teams that have been involved here can be very, very proud of themselves for what they have achieved this season.
Yeah, most definitely. And look, we've spoken about this and we're going to speak about it again. We've seen consistent development from different drivers, and if you tune into the chat every week, ladies and gentlemen, you'll start to see their friends, their family kind of point out, ooh, I think Tapelo's doing well this week. I see David has picked up his race pace. So it's evident how effective the championship has been, as we see Tariq Adam and Cody Sherrod going side by side one more time, heading into Spoon Cove. Brilliant move. Will he go for the switcheroo? Yes, he gets it right. Brilliant defense from Cody Sherrod, but Tariq Adam is still holding on to the outside line. We're going to have a side by side run down into 130R. Do not take your eyes off this one, ladies and gentlemen, because it is all about who will be brave and hold their line heading into 130R. Brilliant racing. Brilliant move, and there we go. Tariq Adam holds on the outside, getting the benefit of the track and the wider line, ladies and gentlemen, as we head into Casio Triangle one more time, heading into the main straight. The racing we're seeing this season, the racing we're seeing tonight, I'm loving it. I'm a big fan.
100%. I'm definitely a big fan as well. The sportsmanship, the camaraderie, the fun that we've had this season on the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship has just been proper next level. Really enjoyed it. As it has been the domination from Luke Whitehead, 157.8, fastest lap of the race last time by for your race leader, and they are on a different planet right now, 5 seconds ahead of George Boothby at the moment. And with 20 minutes left to go, it's a safe bet that barring any technical issues or any, hiccups, I mean, what more can you say about Luke Whitehead? He's done exactly what needed to be done. He had a race off, missed the round last time by, but still, he's in a really good position. However, I think that Boothby still leads the championship at the end of this.
Yes, he should. And that's why we're saying it's becoming so crucial now, because every point matters, every position matters, every finish matters. We're so deep into the championship and it's very close. These drivers must be, look, they're very good at this, but there is that pressure now to maintain and score the maximum at every given opportunity. 2 rounds left to go in the championship. We're going to see a grandstand finish, photo finish on the championship table, that's for sure, heading into the last 2 rounds.
Well, it's all to play for, and it's becoming a very interesting affair, especially with Tariq Adam still hanging on in there. He'll be around about, I think, 30 points behind going into these final 2 rounds, as we see Abe Santima trying to hold on to that 7th position. Now, he doesn't really have a threat behind him. Christian Fencer is 2.5 seconds away down there in 8th position, but he is chasing, Abe Santima is chasing down Christian Duploy, who is just 9/10 of a second ahead of him in 6th position. Here is the man, the myth, the legend, Jimmy Holm, aka the homing missile, coming across the line to start lap 19. He's chasing down Christian Fencer, but again here, a lot of the drivers now kind of just fanning out, now circulating, now just doing the laps here, and again just securing those points that are also important come the end of the season. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, we'd love to have you on board. Get involved in the Genisus Esports Discord if you fancy getting involved in some of the many esports championships that they organise, and come and hang out and be part of the community. It's a fun lot to be around. I mean, we were hearing at length from Gareth last week, who really, Gareth Hawkins, who just gave us everything that we needed to know last week out. But, they really, really love looking after each other in the community, and that's something you were saying earlier on to Pello about the camaraderie and that whole community spirit of everyone helping each other out.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. Look, I think I said this in my first broadcast when I came in. I was like, the most surprising thing for me to see, yes, it's a championship, yes, there's competition, but it is also about the camaraderie, the friendship, the sense of community that exists in something like this, a community championship like this. And I think that's what elevates not only the spectacle of racing, but the overall enjoyment of being involved in such a championship. Look, this will be my first season of esports commentary, and I'll tell you now, I've written about it, I've said it to friends, I've shouted it off the top of the hills. I've enjoyed so much being a part of a community. Yes, we're brought together by our love for esports and our love for racing, but it is the camaraderie, the friendship, the jokes, the love that has been the standout for me so far, and it's given me an opportunity to engage with people like you, David, my friend, my man, and these are the things you treasure for many years to come, and it's what makes it special every week, every Wednesday, coming back to do this.
Note then, obviously, with it being your first season, how have you found it, being involved behind the microphone and getting involved with the community on this event?
Look, I've loved it. It's been a learning experience, that's for sure. It's opened my eyes to just how, I don't think big is the right word, but just how colorful the esports racing community can be, wants to be, so to speak. As we look at Cody Sharrett looking for a move heading into the hairpin one more time. But yes, it's been eye-opening. It's introduced me to something that I think I'll enjoy and want to engage in more and more as the years go by. But it's also invoked a sense of passion for something. Look, commentary was never on my radar. I've said it before. A friend recommended me for this position, and it's ignited a fire in me. It's something I love to do now. It's becoming a mainstay of the things I do to de-stress, and hopefully there's more to come, because this season, if it's anything to go by, the future looks bright and the future looks very, very entertaining.
Honestly, it's been such a privilege having you here in the commentary box, and also joining you alongside in the commentary box. Definitely wouldn't have guessed at all, Tabello, that it was your first time behind the mic here for an esports event, and you've taken it to like a duck to water, and I'm just so happy that we've been able to enjoy this amazing action through the course of the season. But look at this, Cody Sherritt, while we're chatting away, is getting so close to Tariq Adam. Adam has been made to totally work for this right now for that third position. Also great to see that Luke Addison is back out there circulating on track. He is down there and possibly want to try and get involved in this little fight as well, with just 16 minutes left to go in the race here as the cars come through Dunlop again for the 21st time into the Degners And again, the car squirreling, under braking. It's having to get that balance, having to get that poise, and get the car angled in, using both a combination of the brake and the accelerator to rotate the car around manually, maybe more so than the tyres alone would allow for them. But coming into the final quarter of an hour of a race, and something we said off air is that with this being a 60-minute race here to Pello, the time absolutely flies by, and I guess for these drivers it flies by even quicker, because no sooner have they started the race than they're now having to look at what's the best position they can get in the final 10 minutes of the race.
Yeah, and you're right. We kind of said it as a realization, like the hour races go by so quickly. You put your head down, you lift your eyes, you've got an overtake. You put your head down, you lift your eyes, you've got the pit window. And I think that's such a tricky thing for the drivers as well, because now they have to keep themselves measured. How long can they maintain a stint? When do they need to go for moves? When do they need to hold position? It's such a tricky thing, but it's been interesting to see how they've adapted over the season, where their strengths are. As we see the camera focusing on George Boothby, who we've spoken very little about in this race. He's having one of those races, we've coined it already in the season. He's boring, but he's scoring, and that's what you need sometimes. This is a very good finish for him. If he holds, he will still maintain his lead atop the championship. So this is the kind of driving you want from someone who's looking to win a championship.
Yeah, with the gap at the top of the championship now, 18 points between George Boothby and Luke Whitehead here. You're absolutely spot on. This is exactly what he needs. It will extend, of course, the gap between Luke Whitehead and Tariq Adam very slightly by a couple of points there. I think that will still be under 20 points between them two as we go into the penultimate round of the season. And I wonder as well here, Tapello, how many of the drivers now have started to kind of switch their mind to that, with the fact that, this race with 15 minutes left to go in it, it's kind of decided what is going to happen here, apart from Tariq Adam and Cody Sherritt, because God knows what is going to happen between them two. But for the rest of the drivers out there, their race is kind of done, as long as they can get it to the end, which is by no means a given or granted for sure. But I wonder how many of these drivers now are going to be thinking about next week, thinking about the strategy that they're going to be taking into there, thinking about what points they need to get. And you get to the end of this race here, and it does feel like you're just counting down the minutes.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And I think what can get very tricky for a driver, especially in this kind of position, and we've spoken about this before as well, in that usually what happens is when you're alone on circuit, when there's a significant gap to the next car behind you and to the car in front of you, is you kind of lose your bearings a bit, because you have no reference. You have no reference of pace, you have no reference of position, and that's where a lot of drivers tend to make mistakes. You spin out on a traction zone, you go wide, you get a penalty, stuff like that. So barring any mishaps, this is where the drivers just want to be calm, maintain their pace. We've spoken so much throughout this championship about finding your rhythm, finding your place on circuit. So if you're in a situation like this, that's all you want. You just want to find your pace, you just want to find your rhythm. But without any references, you start to lose pace sometimes, you start to lose concentration. So it looks easy because there's no action happening, but it's a very tricky period for a driver when you have no references to keep you in check and to help you maintain your pace in the race.
And on that note, it's always that thing of, like, do you like to be chased or do you like to chase? And my answer is always, I like to chase, but I'd rather have that than be on my own on the circuit, because the last thing I want is to kind of go off on autopilot and then not pay attention to what I'm doing, because before I know it, I'm off into the gravel or off into the nearest barrier there, and it just it's no fun whatsoever. Whereas at least for the likes of Terry Canham and Cody Sherritt right now, they're able to fight, they're able to push each other on, have a little bit of fun, have a little bit of banter here. Even for the likes of Abe Santima, the fact that he's got Christian Deploy less than a second ahead of him, that will absolutely be a carrot. He won't be seeing the fact that there's 11 minutes on the clock there. He'll just be seeing that red, white and blue car in front of him, getting ever so closer. Even if it's not in his mind, it's getting ever so closer to him, which makes him push that a little bit harder and a little bit faster as well. But it is actually starting to go out that gap just now. But either way, yes, as I said, he will still be focused on that. But as we said though, 10 minutes left to go, or just over 10 minutes left to go in this round 10 of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. Luke Whitehead's in the lead of the race there. George Boothby in second, Siri Karam in third position, Cody Sherritt in fourth, Daniel Matos Pareto in fifth, Christian Deploy in sixth, Abe Santima in seventh position, Christian Fenter in eighth position, Jimmy Holm in ninth, and then Nicholas Leon rounds out your top 10 with Alexander Kuznetsov in 11. We've got Mittelini in 11th. Now who's that into pit lane? I saw a car in pit lane. That's Luke Harrison. I think he is done and dusted from this race, and you can understand that. He's obviously just circulating and doing some laps, but nothing really to be gained here. I think he might be into pit lane and retiring from the race here, Tapello.
Yeah, I think he was just getting some practice in for himself. You know, he's already committed the evening, so might as well try and maximize his evening. But yeah, it's you know, I love this. I love this, and I'm gonna bring up something, David, and you're gonna laugh at me, but I'll tell you what. Every sim racer has had this happen to them once or twice, and I'm sure you have as well, where you're kind of in a lull like this in a race, and or somehow you want to keep yourself entertained and you press every button. You start to look what's happening behind you. You start to switch your brake balance. You just do everything. And because of that shenanigans, you hit the barrier. And that's happened to me, I will admit. So that's what I'm afraid can happen to a driver in this period of a race. As you've spoken about, not a lot is happening, so you just need to maintain that focus. But that's what happens. You try and get... I think you get bored. You want to look what's happening behind you. You want to look what's happening in front of you. You try and change some settings. That one button you've never pressed the whole season, you start to think, oh, what does this button do? And before you know it, you miss a braking point, you're in the gravel and you're kissing the wall.
Now, Tapello, I'm not meaning to brag here, but I'm such a pro esports driver that I don't even need to press random buttons to crash into the nearest barrier. I can do that all by myself as a course of the race. In fact, I was doing a race here on iRacing this afternoon, actually, first one for, I think, this week. And it was GT4s, and I did exactly that. I was halfway through, I think it was like a 30-minute race, and I got to 20 minutes out of 30, and for some reason I just switched off, missed the braking point, even though I'd done the same lap, 15 times previously, and it was almost metronomic. For some reason, just missed the braking point and, slide the car backwards into the wall, and that is how easy it can happen. And that is exactly what you're pointing out here. It can absolutely happen in these final couple of moments here. And God knows, technical issues as well. The amount of times I've been commentating on, extended endurance events, in the final hour, the leader disconnects from the race unexpectedly, and you're like, what the hell? What are you? Can you imagine the frustration and the anger at that point? I don't think we're going to see any of the likes of that from Luke Whitehead, but Reginald Mittelini is at the Casio Triangle, and it does look like he's had a bit of a moment, but I presume actually what's just happened there is that he has saw the lap traffic coming, and he's just decided to completely move out of the way. But we did have a yellow flag there as Luke Harrison was getting out of the way of all of the traffic there. And again, for Mittelini and for Roland Stein, they have had a brilliant debut. They've done their own thing. They've just kept themselves to themselves, and they've not really been any issue whatsoever here.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think we spoke about this earlier during the race, that this is also a key practice for them, getting out of the way of faster cars where to shift, where to get out, how to get out as well. There's a very intricate set of racing IQ points to learn in how to let faster cars go by, because as much as you want to do it without compromising the faster cars race, you also want to do it without compromising yourself, your line, your race, your preparation. And just to point out, ladies and gentlemen, as we spoke about Luke Addison, you see him going into the pits and out. Remember, these guys are using this championship as, dare I say, a practice bed for another championship. So him running these laps is very crucial to setting himself up for tomorrow, practicing, seeing his strengths, seeing how the car handles an extended stint, because he has nothing really to drive for in this race. So he's using the time as prep for tomorrow's race.
I think he's going back into pit lane just now, so it might be tried out different settings on the car just now, but we're back on board with the final 5 minutes of the race here. Abe Santima for Thomas Engesim Racing onto the back, so that gap to Christian Deploy has absolutely closed up. Remember, it was just over a second about 3 laps ago. It is now down to half a second just now as they go through Spoon Curve. That is very wide from Christian Deploy, but gets a better exit out the corner. It's all about the traction out there. You can see the McLaren kicking out with oversteers. The cars have got some slightly worn rubber on them just now, but as we look towards the race leader as well, 8 seconds is the lead between Luke Whitehead and George Boothby just now as Abe Santina goes through 130 yards straight onto the back end of that Ferrari just in front of him. And what I'm wondering is the tyres on the McLaren doing slightly better than the Ferraris just now, because they are the ones that seem to be dropping off a little bit in these final 5 minutes of the race here. But again, down the start finish straight here, what does Abe Santina have left in the tank to be able to make anything happen for this fight for 6th position, and how much does he want the 6th position? That is going to be the question through the final couple of minutes here. But Christian Deploy, I think he's fought a very balanced race here just now. He's not really driving in his mirrors, he's just driving his own race at the moment. And again, crucially, you know, that's massively important here to Pello, because Abe Santima is the one that has to do all the work here at Suzuka right now.
Yeah, you're spot on with that, David. And I think it's also a lesser spoken about way of defending. You know, we often see the defense by someone moving their car in the braking zones, try to change their lines, block the view of the driver behind them. But sometimes a very effective way of defending, or method of defending, is just to drive. It sounds archaic to say, but just drive your race. Just keep to your line. Ignore your mirrors. Yes, you'll be aware of where the other guy is, but just drive, maintain pace. That shifts all the pressure away from you and takes it on the shoulders of the attacking car, because like you're saying, then it's Abe Santima who has to do everything. It's Abe Santima who has to try and find the gap. It's Abe Santima who has to put more pressure. It's he who has to try and force you into a mistake. So by just driving, what you're effectively doing is you're defending by not making any unnecessary maneuvers to defend. And that's a very, very critical skill and racing IQ. In a race like this, whether that's virtual, whether that's real life racing, drivers will tell you this all the time. Sometimes you just need to keep to your race, keep to your strengths, David, and do what you can do, and let the other guys worry about what they have to do in order to get the position.
And on that note as well, that's why you see so much in terms of mental gamesmanship through races as well. Drivers in the position of, like Abe Santima, making a move out to the right-hand side when they've got no intention of actually making a move here, but it's to distract the car in front. It's to try and get them thinking about you more than thinking about what they're doing, getting them out of that state of flow and getting them thinking about that fight that they've got. But with 2.5 minutes left to go, and a race leader is going to be on the penultimate lap of the race here, we are going to have time for one more lap here at Suzuka for the 10th round of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship, and it does look very, very comfortable at the front for Luke Whitehead. George Boothby again in second place, and Tariq Adam getting those vital championship points in third just now. But the 55 car coming along the back straight just now. We're still watching this fight between Christian Deploy and Abe Santima, and if anything, I think here the gap going out slightly to Santima. Yeah, for me the question at this point is, you know, always it's a fight for sixth. How badly do you want to get those extra couple of points for Abe Santima? Part of me is like, well, I maybe not, I wouldn't back off, but I wouldn't be, throwing every single move that I could do to try and make that happen. But either way, Luke Whitehead, let's touch on him for a little bit here, Tapello, because a stunning performance at the front of the field, went off like a shot, taking that pole position. This has really been just a day of Luke Whitehead.
Yeah, it's been his day, and I think we've seen about 2-3 performances like this from him this season. Yes, I think he's had the most interviews. He loves our voices at this point, but there's a coolness with which he races. There's a measured approach he takes, and we've spoken about this, and we spoke about this in this race as well. He does most of his work in those first 5 laps. It's how he starts his race, it's how he gets his pace, it's how he sets his gap within those first 5 laps. And it sounds like a crazy thing to say in an hour's race, but setting yourself up properly in the beginning, carrying the momentum from those 5 laps going forward, is what Luke Whitehead has done so well, is doing so well, and you might actually see him do it as well in the coming races. I think that's his strength, that's his thing. If he starts in front, he just has that mentality, that calmness, that skill to maximize those first 5 laps, shoot out of the blocks, get a second away, and then slowly build that lead over the coming laps, over the coming race, and then just eke out a win like that.
That is exactly, I think, what he has decided to do. As Jimmy Holm gets a drive-through penalty for track limits on the final lap of the race. That is absolute heartbreak. We'll talk more about that in just a second. But Luke Whitehead then comes out of the final corner here for the final time at Suzuka. It's been a dominant, crushing, controlled performance from Luke Whitehead to cross the line and take the win here at Suzuka. George Boothby is going to come across the line in second position. You can see Luke Whitehead there just making his way out of the order, and then into third position Tariq Adam, then 7/10 of a second ahead of Cody Sherritt. He's been made to work for this one as the Genisus Esports driver by his compadre in that Genisus Esports car in fourth position. But Tariq Adams scores some much needed championship points to go into P3. Cody Sherritt comes across line in P4. Daniel D'Amatos Plato is going to finish in fifth position. Christian Duploy, I think, is going to have enough in the tank to finish in sixth. Yes, he does, just to finish ahead of Abe Santima. And then it's Christian Fenter. Then it is going to be Nicholas Leon, I think, is going to take that from Jimmy Holm, because with a drive-through penalty that's not going to be served by Jimmy Holm, that will go to a 30-second penalty. Yep, there we go. So Nicholas Leon and I believe possibly even Alexander Kuznetsov are going to finish ahead of poor Jimmy Holm there, as Matlany and Stain are in P11 and P12. So there we go then. That is it, done and dusted for round 10. And again, fantastic performance from Luke Whitehead. We'll get some conversations with them once they are in and ready to have a chat. In fact, they're already down in the waiting room. So let's bring in Luke Whitehead to have a quick chat with just now. Good evening, Mr. Whitehead. Congratulations on another win. You go away for a week and you come back and you just absolutely dominate.
Hello, well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having the event again. To preface, I was my internet died last week and I'm ill this week, so I've had a good 2 weeks really, where I've been thrown every obstacle possible. And that's why I sound a bit groggy and I'm a little bit ill. But yeah, the result was good. Pace was pretty good. The setup was terrible. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with the result. Obviously, it was a shame that we missed out on last week. I think last week could have been a pretty successful outing. But nonetheless, still 2 rounds left. And Watkins is a good track for the Lambo. So we're just going to make that one count and obviously limit the damage at Monza, I think.
Wait, hang on a minute, Luke. Are you saying this is you on a bad day?
Yes. Well, no.
God damn it.
It doesn't. It helps that the Lambo is very, very, very quick here, like to the point where it's actually unfair. So yeah, like the car was very quick. And obviously the drop off showed that my setup just wasn't up to scratch, and also my driving wasn't up to scratch really. But the car really helped me today. And I mean, you know, George came second and was miles ahead of the next McLaren, so it shows how well he drove. So again, it was you know, it was a good race, but you know, could have been better. But as I say, like, I can't grumble with a P1. You know, quad A, P1, fastest lap, that sort of stuff. You can't really grumble too much. But yeah, hopefully next week I'll be in a fitter state to hit it hard. Because as I say, this week I wasn't really myself.
Well, Luke, thank you so much for coming and joining us anyway, despite not feeling well. Get your head on a pillow, my friend, and get some chicken soup, and we'll see you out next week.
Oh, don't tempt me. No, that sounds really nice, actually.
Anybody you want to say thanks to?
Yeah, so just the usual, really. Thanks to Veloce for their continual support in me over the past, you know, past year, really. It's been a pleasure to ride with them and continue riding with them week in, week out. Massive thank you to SRGP and also Genisus for holding this championship. Because as I say, like, it's a good championship. Obviously, shame about the pit window mishap, which obviously it kind of derailed my strategy a little bit. Because I intended to go right to the end of the pit window, but that's why I was a little bit slower in the first in. But nonetheless, thanks everyone, and yeah, hopefully I'll speak to you guys next week.
Excellent stuff. Congratulations then to Luke Whitehead on another win here at the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. And next up then, we've got George Boothby. George, second place. Again, you were kind of left to your own devices there. Things were much nicer last week when you had a bit of peace and quiet from Luke.
Yeah, they were a bit nicer, yeah, but I mean, it was still I still think I did a pretty good race. I think quali could have been a bit better. I don't know, I just couldn't really hook up the lap, but it's just so hard. This track is really challenging. But yeah, in the race, I felt like I was doing really good. I feel like my pace was like really promising. Like, I hate to obviously bring up Bop. You're probably sick and tired of people talking about Bop, but yeah, the Lambo is just like one of those cars here that is so fast. So it was just the goal was basically just try and see how close I can keep to Luke, right? And I think I did a good job. I think I could have really got much more out of it, to be honest. So yeah, I'm happy with the setup. I worked on it a little bit this morning, then this afternoon on stream, and yeah, I'm just glad the race went as well as it did. Damage limitation for the championship, and next week we have Monza, which is the roles are reversed a bit. So I'm hoping some of the McLaren boys can maybe put a few positions on Luke and help extend my lead.
What could possibly go wrong at the quintessential GT3 track? But after today, 15 points leads of 13 points leads in the championship. That's not a bad place to be with 2 rounds left to go.
Yeah, obviously, I'm not oblivious to the fact that Luke did miss a round because he had internet issues, so that is a shame. But at the end of the day, it can happen to anyone. And if I'd have had an internet issue, I don't think he would have sat out around to make it fair. So you got to take every advantage you can, even if it's something like that. So I'm gonna just keep up what I'm doing. I think, like I say, next week should be a really good round, and then the final. I mean, I'm hoping it's just a matter of finishing, basically. Just get something on the board, but you never know. And like you say, it's Monza, turn 1. That's the goal. If I can get out of turn 1, then the race is on. So yeah, let's see what happens.
If you get past turn 1, all bets are off. Well, listen, George, anybody you want to say thank you to tonight?
Yeah, thank you to you guys as always. My Twitch chat, you guys' broadcast and chat, and yeah, just thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoy it, and yeah, let's try and get some more people involved because it is a good series. It follows LFM as well, which is like perfect practice. So definitely advise anyone who wants to, get a bit of practice for LFM as well as having just an awesome time. Get involved.
Awesome stuff. Well, listen, George, thanks so much for coming and joining us, and we will hopefully speak to you next week.
Cheers. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
There we go then, George Boothby. And finally, our third place driver then. It's another brilliant performance. Tariq Adam, welcome back. Another awesome score of points there. And you're still in the hunt for the championship.
Hey, hello everyone. Yeah, it was okay. Suzuka is definitely not my favorite track, and the race pace wasn't too amazing. The tire dropper for me was quite bad, and the Ferraris were right behind me the whole race basically. So yeah, a few sketchy moments with the guys, but we made it through.
So what is the thoughts going into the final 2 rounds of the championship? Obviously, Luke and George are fighting it out, but things might be evened up next time out at Monza.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Monza. The McLaren's really good there, and I enjoy the track. So hopefully, if I can get a top 2 there in front of Luke, it'll be good, because I think the McLaren's quite a lot faster than the Lambo. So that'll definitely be the goal. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Excellent stuff. And anybody finally, Tariq, you want to say thank you to tonight?
Yeah, just the team, Genisus, for giving us this opportunity and putting on the championship. And my parents once again for supporting, and also just an apology to all the participants for the incorrect server settings of the pit window tonight.
No problem, Tariq. It's absolutely fine. But listen, thank you for coming in and having a chat with us. And here's hoping we get to speak to you again next week.
Cool, thanks, man.
Excellent stuff. So Tariq Adam finishing in third position. So confirmation then, Luke Whitehead taking the win, George Boothby taking second place, Tariq Adam in third place, and Zapello drivers kept on their wits tonight with that pit stop setting that was changed. But again, they all survived it, and I don't think anybody minded it too much.
Yeah, look, if it caught us out in commentary, I can imagine what it was like for the drivers seeing that pit window open. As Luke Whitehead said, he had a different strategy planned for the race, but these things happen. You know, it's all right. Like you're saying, I don't think anyone was severely disadvantaged by it. So these things happen. Live and let die. Another race coming up next week, but it was very interesting to hear all the driver excuses coming to the fore. My setup was bad. I don't like this track. This car is not good. I love racing drivers when they do this. Impressive performance, but they still have excuses as to why they weren't more brilliant than they already were. So that's a bit of fun to hear from the guys as they were saying there in their interviews.
Certainly was. Well, listen, Tapello, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. 2 rounds remain of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. We go out next week to Monza, and then the final round, 27th of December. In between Christmas and New Year, we are off to the United States of America for Watkins Glen for the final round of the championship. It is going to be awesome to see that happen. Don't go anywhere. We'll be here back same time next week. I've been David Christie. Joining me in the commentary box has been my good friend Tapello Marioli. A huge thank you to our broadcast team behind the scenes at Sim Sports Solutions, and to you at home as well for watching, and to everyone at the Genisus Esports community. That is us for this week. We will see you same time next week. Until then, look after yourself and stay safe.